Hello, and welcome to What Moves Us, the podcast where we ask what moves us, or more accurately, what's going to move us in future.
We look at debates, themes, and decisions of the minute that will impact on the way we get about in the future.
Hello, Johannah. Calling Johannah, where are you?
Hi, Liam. I'm in the booking hall at St Pancras Station
Such
with
a
my
strange
lime and
word.
soda. I
Mhm.
know, but I just wanted somewhere that was cool and quiet because obviously travelling down from Highland, Scotland, this thing called sunshine, we just don't know what it is at the moment there. It's just been so awful, the weather.
Oh, it'll be baking hot here. Seems lovely.
I know, I've been seeing it. It was the most bizarre thing yesterday watching the men's final at Wimbledon underneath cloudy skies in Scotland and watching everybody melt under the heat wave at Wimbledon.
Wow. Yes, so we're recording this on Monday, 13th of July. This is a great week for us because on Wednesday evening is our summer gathering, which we'll be having at the Energy Garden in Victoria, in London. So that is very exciting for us. The Energy Garden is a non-profit that works with railway companies and other infrastructure companies to make use of their assets for community-based energy. So like solar panels that power the railways. They have a project down in South London in a depot where, yes, they are drawing sky power to power the railways. So that's all on our message.
That sounds really exciting, and of course, all on message because of what's been going on with the heatwave the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So a good opportunity there.
Yes, and we have to wrap it up and finish by 8 o'clock, which is when the England game's on. So we'll be in the pub at the road towards the England game. So yes, this podcast will go out after that event. So we either may or may not have an England team in the final, depending on Wednesday.
Well,
And I think
good luck to the England team anyway.
yes, we will have a interview that we have with Heerum from TickEat, which will be after this. But just before we go, I wanted to again draw attention to our 10-year anniversary research paper, which is coming out tomorrow, the 14th of July.
And
So,
what's the research paper about?
wow, download your copy. It is about the findings over the last 10 years. So we actually tracked back through our membership and interviewed them really for the last 10 years to see what had changed, who was in rail, who was not in rail, what had changed over the period. I think top messages would be that the culture and the approach to innovation has definitely radically improved. People don't have to sell the idea of innovation and change anymore. It's kind of expected. The challenge then comes to implementation, and we still have the pilot purgatory, would you call it? People get trials, people get grants, people do a demonstration, works brilliantly, but the wider adoption through industry, the rail industry for many products is still a challenge. So that remains. That could be our next 10-year challenge to fix that.
So I think we should do a podcast on the report. So that'll be our next podcast. But here we are going to listen to our newest member, Heerum from TickEat. So I'm now pleased to welcome our guest to our podcast today, Heerum Fleary from TickEat, our newest member to Rail Innovation Group. So hi, Heerum. Why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hi, I'm Heerum Fleary, the founder of the TickEat Group Limited, and TickEat was founded back in 2015. So we've been going for 10 years now. And my story so far is, so my background, I used to be a food and beverage buyer, predominantly within food service for over 20 years. And 15 years of that is within travel. So the last time a full-time job I had was for a company called Gate Gourmet, an airline caterer, where I really built those relationships directly with the airlines. And we've come a long way since we've started TickEat. I was a one-man band back in 2015, and now we're a team of 4. And we've evolved only just recently in the last month from TickEat Limited to the TickEat Group. So if you go on our website, tickeatgroup.com, you will actually see, I think there's about 6 different brands we've got under there now, 3 of which active, 3 of which we're working on. super exciting. And when we first started off, I was looking at just aviation. And that's really evolved in the last, I'd say, 7, 8 years. So we now work with rail operators, cruise operators. But I'd say now that Dave is on board from Rail Gourmet, we are really heavily focusing on rail.
Right. That is, it's quite nice to hear someone who has quite a lot of experience in another industry coming into rail, because it allows us to ask you lots and lots of questions of comparisons between other industries and rail, which we might
Yes.
get into.
I was just thinking about, just before we moved on, you explained where you started from and that you've been going for 10 years, and that you're now in what would say growth because you've expanded.
Yes.
But what exactly does TickEat do?
Good question. What don't we do? So within TickEat, we work with food and drink brands predominantly and help them to break into travel. So what does that look like? Our business is split into two. We've got the event side, which we do very unique events, things like meet the buyers, where they're really tailored, where buyers and suppliers select each other. And then we do something quite exciting and fun, like dinner with the buyer. And those dinners are held within those sectors, within those areas. So an example is, we've got a dinner with the buyer for rail, and it's on a static train in York in November coming up. We're along with about 20 brands, and we'll have about 5, 6 buyers from rail. And then the other side of the business is actually the services side, where we do masterclasses, strategy days. We work with brands on a one-to-one and help them to break into travel. But we're all about education as well. And quite recently, we developed 3 accelerator programs, and the one for rail is called Track to Go. And it's super exciting because it's now certified by CPD. It's a personal development course where brands can actually know the ins and outs of this course. And it's and at the end of the course, they actually get an opportunity to pitch with a rail company, which is super exciting. So the business is events and services, and predominantly we are strategic partners for food and drink brands wanting to break into travel.
Is the rail industry on the lookout for new food and drink suppliers?
So rail is really innovating right now in terms of when it comes to looking for food and drink brands. They they are really on the hunt for new brands. And one of the big questions we always get asked as a business is, oh, am I too small? Well, the answer is no, because rail loves to give smaller brands the opportunity. And we're here to handhold those smaller brands and really show them, exactly where they need to go in terms of route to market in order to supply to a specific rail company, because there are lots of different routes to market into, let's say, one train company out there. So no, it's really on the rise. We recently actually did a full dedicated day for a Eurostar. And what did that look like? It was a day dedicated for food and drink brands to be completely educated by the whole Momentum team, Eurostar team. And we had about 90 brands that came along to that who had the opportunity to pitch. The feedback from Momentum, who service Eurostar, was it was absolutely phenomenal for them because they were able to see all the innovation under one roof.
Right. And actually, I do remember being on quite a number of trains where they also have the line of route and then the suppliers from along the line of route. So it's obviously a thing of interest to them. Can I ask a technical question?
You can.
Obviously, you used to work in airlines, and as far as I'm aware, meals on planes have to have like more salt in them, so they actually taste of something at altitude.
Right.
Is there any oddities about catering for a train journey? Is there anything unusual about food and drinks on board trains?
No, it's really straightforward. Yes, they prefer not to have so much chilled, especially no frozen. But there is nothing special in terms of the requirements at all. It's pretty and it's quite refreshing actually to deal with because, as you said, in terms of there are certain train companies like LNER who will look for route specific products. You have to be a supplier from that area where the train is passing through.
Mhm.
So that does happen.
I'm going to declare an interest because I was at the Momentum Eurostar event last week because I was very kindly asked to facilitate the event. So it was a great event. And it was great to hear from Momentum on how they delivered the service on Eurostar from different perspectives, how the supply chain and worked. And I was thinking, sort of like about your experiences of getting into rail and the challenges around that, because quite often startups and SMEs or small businesses, they all say it's really hard to find the right person. So given your experience of working in F&B, what advice could you give our listeners and other people wanting to get into rail or even rail in how they engage with small businesses?
Yeah. So our approach is to always go direct to the buyers. So a lot of the brands that we've worked in the past have gone via the route to market. So like the likes of your Bid Food or Breaks. But for us, we always deal directly with. And how do we do that? We actually will go on LinkedIn and make connections that way. But a lot of the business and what we do has grown from word of mouth. So, for example, within Rail Gourmet, they service quite a few different trains. When we've managed to get a hold of one account manager, that account manager will then share the word that actually TickEat are great partners to work with because we help them to really reduce time in trying to source suppliers and go to lots of different places.
That's really great to hear. So that's obviously about being a good partner and being a trusted partner. So how do you do that with the people you work with and the businesses you work with?
We handhold, we support them. We really give them a personal one-to-one. A lot of the brands that come to us don't have any experience in supplying into rail or any part of the travel. So we do a whole education piece with them. We sit down with them and explain to them exactly how it works. It's right from the beginning in terms of looking at their product and seeing if it's in the right format and getting them ready even before they actually go to the buyer. That's something we offer that's quite unique.
So how does your business model work then? So obviously you work with partners in industry where you do the sponsored events and dinners and things. But how does that work for your members?
So on the event side, it's a fee that brands pay to attend and eat the buy. We have different packages within that. And then again, with the dinner with the buyer, it's a fixed fee. When we did the bespoke event for Momentum, the tickets were sold on Eventbrite. The pricing that we charge, we try to be really fair. We benchmark ourselves against other companies, although what we do is quite unique. And then on the services side, in terms of masterclasses, we do different tiers depending on how your knowledge is built up. Is it very minimal? Or do you need lots of education? Again, we do different tier pricing for that. And also, if brands want to work with us on a one-to-one, we charge a monthly fee depending on the amount of work they would like us to put in, but also on a very, very small commission basis that works for both parties. So we look at businesses and their budgets, and it's not one price for all at all.
So can I ask a question then in terms of growth? Is you work with smaller suppliers and hopefully in a best case they get a contract with a rail operator. What is the options for growth and expansion if quite a lot of the rail operators are route specific? Is it selling more to the same operator or is there pollination across operators once you've got a contract with one operator?
So once you've got a contract with one rail company, there are opportunities to venture out into other rail companies as well. And that is something that we support with and we really encourage as well. And that's how the volumes are built up as well. So we tend to work with the really large operators like LNER, Transfer 9, Momentum for Eurostar. So we do recommend they venture out to others and we show them who they are as well. And we're happy to do those introductions.
And is there international growth available as well?
We are looking at going international, definitely. And from the back of the Momentum Eurostar Day, they've actually said they want to pick up later on this year and talk about us hosting that same event in France for those guys there, which is really exciting.
That is really exciting. Of course, you'll see different things, won't you?
Exactly.
Learn different things. So that is really exciting. So, because I think that came out quite strongly, wasn't it? Sort of like
It did.
cultural differences of dealing in Europe, and again that line of route things and that. So it sounds like rail has been very positive for you. What would you say that you've learned, from your experience of working with rail?
So my experience on working with rail and still working and we're tapping away is it's a lot more accessible for brands for when they're trying to approach the buyers. It's a really friendly environment to work in. For me, I'm really enjoying learning about other carriers because when we first started getting into this a few years ago, we were really limited ourselves. But I think with now, again, I'll say with Dave on board and his rail background the last 10 years, he's opening up more doors for us. It's really enjoyable and there's a lot more opportunities for brands as well.
And I'm interested in that insight as well, is that what makes the sort of like the food and beverage part of rail innovative, because and open to those conversations, because quite often from our other members or other people experiencing with an innovation in rail, trying to speak to the right person or getting in the right person, the experience has not been positive, and they find it difficult to find the right person or even for them to understand their innovation. So why do you think your experience is different?
The way buyers see us in rail is as a one-stop shop. We save them time, we save their energy for them, and we make it very easy. So they know when they come and work with TickEat, we've already done the due diligence for them. So I think it comes down, well, I believe it comes down to our experience within this sector and us showing them the growth and, just opening up doors.
So how does that compare to the other industries you've worked in? Because you work across all of the transport sector, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. In how rail compares to the likes of aviation or cruises, it is a lot more straightforward and a lot simpler to work with. The supply chain is a lot less complex. The routes to market are a lot less complex as well. So, yeah.
That's really interesting, because you wouldn't ever hear rail being referred to as not as uncomplicated.
On the food and beverage side.
That is quite an encouraging thing to hear because it is different from some of our other interviews. In your journey as a founder, did you seek out to establish your company within rail, or was it that there was an opportunity in rail that you took advantage of?
It's a bit of both. We have been approached in the past for some of the products that we put out there on socials. So then buyers do actually reach out to us. But for us, it was always in the plans not to put all of our eggs into one basket and focus on aviation. So rail was part of the growth plan. And it seems like right now we seem to have more interest from rail than any of the other travel sectors, which is great for us.
I'm quite interested, just where you see rail trends going for food and beverage, because obviously rail is in a big period of transition, operators going into state ownership. So there's a lot of change. So where are you seeing new opportunities arise?
So where we're seeing new opportunities arise in the way that food is being presented on rail as a whole. So in terms of pre-ordering, that's really where a lot of the trains are moving to. And whether that's a finished kind of a bagged product before you even get on the train, or you can order whilst on the train via an app. So that's really on the rise. And also in terms of the food and drink trends on trains, is leaning more towards health and well-being, as opposed to a lot of the junk side, which is what a lot of the travel operators in general focus on. So they're the trends that we're seeing: more pre-ordering, more healthier products.
Is 2026 the year of high protein?
High protein, but also high fiber, gut-related products.
You've got to have those labels on things now.
Oh gosh.
And collagen. There's
collagen.
there's so much that you've got to be thinking about now, what you've got to be eating and supplementing and stuff like that.
Well, that's interesting. Do you find the consumers on board actually take notice of the origin of the food that they're being served, or is it more the fact that they just expect food?
No, it depends whether you're sitting in first class or just standard. I know a lot of the passengers I've spoken to that sit in first actually do come to us and give us feedback, and do sometimes jokingly say, "Were you guys involved?" And 9 times out of 10, if the food isn't great, actually, it's because they haven't attended one of our events to source products. So for us, we then go to the actual operators and say, "You really do need to come, and these are the reasons why." So the food really differs from first class to your standard. So it depends on the rail operator how much they want to invest as well into the menu.
And I know you expect more for for a first class ticket, even though it's a complimentary offer. But I do think you see more of them the leaning into the health and well-being in the first class offer as opposed to the standard offer. Because I think it's quite interesting that I worked on board trains in the 90s, and I think even today probably the most popular product is still a Kit Kat.
Kit Kat is really popular on just all travel operators, airlines especially, but also hotels as well. It's one of those really well-known products. I think will always be number one. It's a familiar international product. It's in every country.
So just sort of like wrapping up. I know, so sort of like got two questions for you. I mean, like, I think, what lessons would you give to our listeners in terms of if they want to get into rail? But also, I'm quite interested in what's for you this year. What are your priorities, and what do you hope to achieve?
So my advice to the listeners would be that when you are approaching rail operators, is to really have a plan in place, whether it's a service or a non-food product. I think always do your research, look at what they're currently using, what makes you different and sets you apart. And also, what gap are you filling for them? What solution is it you're offering? But do your research on that particular rail company. And whenever you're approaching different rail companies, is really tailor your pitch decks towards them so they can see that you've done your homework as well.
That's really that is really great advice, tailoring, because I think it's almost like, a CV, isn't it? You wouldn't use the same CV for every job you're applying for.
Exactly.
And then I think there was a follow-up, which was your plans or aspirations for this year.
Yes, so we're already halfway through 2026, and our aspirations is a couple of things that we're currently working on, which are quite unique. We have a brand called Curated, and the website is now live, and it's a product portfolio which will be printed as well, but it is for buyers within the whole of travel. And this is a very unique portfolio because it'll be split from your standard products to special meal products, but also your beverages, that you could purchase, but also non-food items. And nobody's currently doing this in terms of really showing the buyers out there what's really innovative. That's one of the things that we're hoping to get up and running by the end of the year. And I think the most exciting thing for us in all of our 10 years is actually having a physical space. So we are working on the TickEat Innovation Hub. What does that mean? It will be a space where we will have train equipment in there. So some dolly trolleys with the microwaves that go on board the rail, and also the coffee machines. So brands will be able to do MPD, develop products within this facility, but also do packing exercises, which is super exciting.
Oh wow! When is that going to be? I can't think of a train metaphor, but off the ground.
Yes. So we're looking to hopefully get that off the ground and fully be on board with all the puns by the end of the year. We found the premises. We're waiting for the contract. And the plan is already, everything's been designed as well. So this will be a travel innovation hub for the whole of travel. So we're super excited. We actually have a waiting list at the moment for train companies that wish to hire it out for presentations, for crew training, for photography. So it's a space that the rail companies will be hiring out as well.
It's a
Oh,
space
wow,
that
that
we
sounds
definitely have to do an event in.
You will be invited to the grand opening.
super exciting. Really looking
Yes.
forward to that, and look forward to having an event there as well. So it sounds like exciting stuff, and sounds like you are on a really good growth trajectory.
We are. And we're looking to take on a couple more people as well by the end of the year.
And I think also, I mean, you are a truly amazing person, because I think over the 10 years as well is that as you were at our BT event on female founders as well, you've completely done this on your own. You've bootstrapped the whole thing with no investors or anything. It's all been your baby, and you got it to this stage. So that's absolutely amazing to hear your story, and to welcome you on board as part of your growth journey.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, and looking forward to visiting the facility. How do people get in touch with you if they want to follow up?
They can connect with me on LinkedIn and also visit our website, which is a TickEat group.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Heerum.
Thank you. See you soon.
Thanks for listening to another episode of What Moves Us. We hope we moved you. For more episodes, you'll definitely want to subscribe to our channel.
Until next time.